the budget hearing. Jeremy, do you want to walk us through the logistics of how this is done so we do this correctly?
Sure. Typically, you just present the budget and then we open the public hearing, allow people to comment on the budget, close the public hearing, and then vote on the budget.
Well, I think we should open the budget hearing for the 2021 budget. Do we have, Eric, can you present the budget, please?
Yep. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you look at it here, we've got our proposed budgets, the one in red on the far right. And our proposed operating revenues. One of the discussions that we had, again, and just kind of reiterate, most of the things from year to year are pretty consistent. We do have some fluctuation, maybe with some connections and on that line, but for the most part, the tax collections, the water usage, you can see is pretty consistent from year to year. One of the big fluctuations that can, for us, is maintenance. That is kind of the unknown variable. And it seems like between maintenance and the legal fees, that's kind of where we kind of have to guess, our best guess on what things are going to be for the up and coming year. And then one of the things that we proposed in this process down on the bottom, and you can see we proposed for the capital improvements or additions of 80,000 for this year. The thought was to be able to do half of the radio read meters as a possibility, and then some telemetry upgrades. And so that's what we discussed in our last meeting.
Okay, this all looks in line to me. Anybody have any thoughts, trustees?
We've been through it. It looks pretty consistent with our previous conversations, and I have no problems with it. It's presented.
Anything from you, Dave?
No, I'm good with it too. Thank you.
I would like to open up the this portion of it to the general public. If there are people that had comments on any or parts of this, do we have anybody who'd like to comment on the budget?
Mark Tracy, Immigration Cane Improvement District. Immigration Cane Homeowners Association. Am I coming through on the audible?
I beg your pardon?
Am I coming through on the audio? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
I had a couple questions, if I may. So on the operating expenses, you have water use revenue projected for this year of $195,000. It looks like your bond payments, principal payment is $231,000, and your interest payments on those bonds is $8,000. Is that correct? I know that's up in your operating expenses, interest expenses for $25,000. Is that correct?
Repeat that, Mark.
So again, I'm looking at your operating revenue. So you have water usage revenue of $195,000. Is that correct?
Okay. Yep.
And then at the bottom, you have deduct bond principal payments. So those are the payments on your 3 bonds equaling for next year for $231,000.
Yep.
That's only principal though, correct?
Yep.
And then you have also at the same time you're making those payments, you're also making payments of $25,000.
And interest. Yep.
In interest. So you have revenue, you have 195,000, and you have payments and interest on those bonds for $250,000, correct?
Yep.
So my question is why is revenue so low compared to actually what your bond payments are? Again, those all 3 are water revenue bonds. Are you using tax funds to pay for those water revenue bonds?
It all comes in, Mark. So we have tax collections. So if you look at the operating expense, we have 220,000 likely coming in through tax collections. We got water usage. We got interest income that we collect from our
Well,
finance note.
sir, my question was very simple. Are you using tax revenue to pay for the bonds? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Next
Well,
question, water rate fees.
Let's answer that more clearly. We
I
definitely.
asked a simple question. I got a simple answer. I'm fine with that answer. Thank you. Water revenue fees for
So you
next year.
don't really
Last
want the
year.
answer
Mark, you have
Please
a,
interrupt.
hey, Mark, look, you have a chance to comment. Make your comment. We're not responding to any questions. Just make your comment.
Okay, thank you.
We're sick of
Appreciate
this
it. So,
crap, Mark.
thank
what?
you. Appreciate it. Counselor, you're authorized to practice law in the state of Utah. Please be respectful. Water
You
revenue,
know what,
water
Mark?
rate fees
You
for the
can
next
shut
year.
up. I'll be as respectful as you're going to be. So, you know
Did you
what?
just tell me
You
to
can
shut
ask
up?
you can make a comment, and then, but you know what? When you phrase your questions like that, no one wants to respond.
I already got an answer to the question. Thank you.
Okay. You can make a comment. We're going to move on. Make your comment. We're
Thank
going to move on.
So water rate fees you have for for revenue. This year you said $13,000 this year, $8,000 last year, and that's going to jump to $24,000. Why is there such an increase for water rate fees?
You can make a comment. We're not going to respond.
Not going to answer that. Okay, thank you. Legal fees. Last year, this year, you're saying $80,000. I don't know if that's gone or up or down, but I assume you've adjusted your fees for the end of the year. The year before that, 116,000, 96,000. Now you have 60,000 allocated for legal fees. Now you have the federal case and you have a half a dozen other cases. And it appears that EID is paying the legal fees of the Simplify company in front of the Court of Appeals. Do you think that $60,000 is a reasonable amount, what you can expect in legal fees this next year?
Thank you for the question, Mark. We're not going to
Appreciate
respond.
Next question, management expenses. This is a question for Mr. Tibbetts. Management expenses, $108,000. And then you also have office and operation expenses of $7,500, so about $115,000. As far as our research is that $115,000 goes to the Simplify company, which is Mr. Eric Cox. In court filings, Mr. Eric Cox says that his wife, Jennifer Hawks, the deputy mayor of Immigration Canyon, does no work for the Simplify at all. So my question is simple. Why is EID spending $115,000 a year salary, base salary, to pay for Mr. Hawks, which exceeds the salary of the Utah State Governor?
And Mark, when you say our research, who are you referring to? Yourself?
$108,000 goes to managers and expenses. Does that
Mark,
go
when
to
you
the
say
Simplify
our
company?
research, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to the Utah Transparency website for expenses that have
No,
been.
you said our
Utah
research.
State
Are you referring
government.
to you and someone
Excuse me,
else?
don't interrupt me, please, Counselor.
What was that?
Utah State government. That is, so last year alone, the Simplify company received over
No,
$100,000
Mark, I
from
asked you a
Immigration
question. You
Improvement
don't want to
District.
respond to my question? What do you mean by our research? Who are
I
you
just
referring
answered your question. The funds that were allocated to Simplify Company that was reported to the Utah Government Transparency website indicated, it's on my website. I can certainly point that so you can see it online if you'd like. So you have $115,000, which is greater than the salary going to the Utah State Governor, which is going to Mr. Eric Cox's pocket. I want to know why.
Not going to answer the question.
No
but-
answer? Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Do the trustees would
Anybody
like to
else?
answer why they're paying Eric Cox more than the Utah State Governor, more than the mayor of Salt Lake
Is there
City?
anybody else who has a question they'd like to ask?
Refuse to answer. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has a question they'd like to ask? Okay, we're going to close the questions and I'd like to put up for a vote the accepting of the budget for the 2021 budget.
I move that we accept.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.